Look, I get it. You want to know why humans are the only species in the entire Galactic Federation exempt from mandatory safety briefings. As a junior safety inspector for the Department of Xenical Risk Assessment, I can tell you it's not because we planned it this way. Trust me, no one wanted this outcome, least of all Director Reek, who's currently cycling through an impressive spectrum of colors as he glares at the empty human section during our annual Galactic Safety Conference. The conference center aboard Station Omega-9 is bustling with representatives from over 300 species. You've got the usual lineup of tentacled beings, crystalline entities, gas-based life forms, and even a few quantum consciousness collectives. Everyone's here, diligently taking notes on updated airlock protocols and the proper handling of antimatter waste. Everyone, that is, except the humans. Inspector Zix 427, Director Reek's voice booms across the hall, making me jump. My sensory appendages quiver as all 6 of his eyes lock onto me. Perhaps you'd like to explain to our assembled colleagues why the human section is empty for the 5th consecutive year. I clear my throat tubes nervously. Well, sir, according to subsection 7 billion of the Human Exemption Protocol, and I quote, due to their unique approach to problem solving and risk assessment, human representatives are permitted to skip all safety briefings, provided they sign a waiver acknowledging that any resulting chaos is their own damn fault. A ripple of murmurs spreads through the audience. A Zorian diplomat raises all 3 of their appendages. But surely they must attend the practical demonstrations, the emergency procedures, the mandatory training on the proper use of escape pods? I glance at my datapad. Actually, no. They're exempt from those too. After the incident, it was determined that forcing humans to adhere to standard safety protocols often leads to, well, let's just say creative solutions that give our insurance providers existential crises. Speaking of humans and their creative solutions, Director Reek interjects, his mandibles clicking in irritation. Where is Captain Cooper? He's supposed to give a presentation on human emergency response techniques. Right on cue, the conference center doors slide open and Captain Jack Cooper saunters in. Coffee in one hand, a half-eaten sandwich in the other. His uniform is slightly wrinkled, and there's a smudge of engine grease on his collar, but somehow, it all looks intentional. Sorry I'm late, folks, he announces with a grin. Had to help some maintenance bots with a stuck airlock. Did you know you can fix a quantum seal misalignment with a rubber band and a paperclip? Works like a charm. Director Reek shifts to an alarming shade of ultraviolet. Captain Cooper, that is absolutely not the approved method for. Oh, and I brought donuts, Cooper interrupts, holding up a box that definitely wasn't in his hands a moment ago. Anyone want one? They're from Earth. Real sugar, none of that synthesized stuff. I watch, fascinated, as several delegates who were moments ago outraged at human disregard for safety protocols suddenly become very interested in Earth pastries. Even Director Reek's mandibles twitch slightly at the sight of the sprinkled ones. And that's the thing about humans, they don't just break rules, they make you question why the rules existed in the first place. They skip safety briefings not because they're reckless, but because they've somehow transcended the very concept of conventional safety. To understand why, we need to revisit the incident, and believe me, it's a story worth telling. Inspector Zix 427, Director Reek's voice snaps me back to reality. Since you're so well versed in human protocols, perhaps you'd like to explain to our guests exactly why we had to create these exemptions in the first place. I gulp. Well, here goes nothing, I mutter. Time to recount the tale of how humans became the only species in the galaxy officially authorized to wing it. It all began 15 years ago, during humanity's first integration into the Galactic Federation's safety protocols. Back then, we still believed we could make humans follow standard procedures. We were so young, so naive. Picture this: orientation day on the Federation's flagship station, pristine and gleaming, hosting the inaugural group of human representatives. Director Reek, just a senior safety coordinator at the time, was still optimistic and a firm believer in the power of well-organized paperwork. "They've achieved faster than light travel," he said during the pre-orientation briefing. "Surely they understand the importance of safety protocols." Oh, how wrong we were. The human delegation arrived, led by Dr. Emma Martinez, Earth's head of space exploration safety. She seemed perfect, multiple PhDs, decades of experience, an impressive record of preventing disasters. What we didn't know was that humans consider preventing disasters and surviving disasters through improvisation to be practically the same thing. The problems began during the basic safety demonstration, standard stuff like operating emergency pressure suits, evacuation procedures, and activating emergency beacons. Dr. Martinez was taking notes, asking intelligent questions, and generally being the model participant. Then the station's artificial gravity malfunctioned. Let me explain why we have safety briefings. There's a meticulously tested, 17-step procedure for handling sudden gravitational anomalies. Step 1. Remain calm. Step 2. Activate your personal gravity tether. Step 3. Follow the color-coded emergency paths to the nearest gravity stabilization chamber. Dr. Martinez, of course, did none of these things. As equipment floated around the presentation hall during the anomaly, she grabbed a fire extinguisher, aimed it behind her, and used it as a makeshift thruster to reach the main gravity control panel, all while upside down and still drinking her coffee. "Dr. Martinez." Director Reek's voice hit a pitch that made the crystalline beings in the room resonate. "Please follow standard emergency procedures." "No time," she called back cheerfully. "Besides, I think I see the problem. Your quantum stabilizers are out of sync. Anyone got a pencil?" A pencil. She wanted a pencil during a level 3 gravitational emergency. What happened next has been analyzed by Federation safety experts for years. Still using the fire extinguisher for propulsion, Dr. Martinez wedged a graphite pencil into the control panel's maintenance port, poured her coffee onto the circuits as a conductive medium. Apparently, caffeine improves conductivity, who knew, and somehow reset the quantum stabilizers. Gravity snapped back online, and everything and everyone fell to the floor. Well, almost everyone. Dr. Martinez landed gracefully on her feet, holding her now empty coffee cup. "See?" she said, brushing off her uniform. "No problem. Though you might want to look into that stabilizer issue. The harmonic resonance was way off. I could feel it in my teeth." Director Reek's mandibles twitched so fast they became a blur. "Dr. Martinez," he said. His voice strained. "There are procedures." "Oh, right," she exclaimed, pulling out her orientation packet. "Let's see, gravitational emergency response, 17 steps." She frowned at the paper. "Wouldn't it be faster to just fix the problem?" That's when Lieutenant Rodriguez from the human engineering team chimed in. "You know what would prevent these stabilizer issues? Duct tape." "Tape?" "Absolutely not," Director Reek snapped. 3 hours and 4 more gravitational hiccups later, they let Rodriguez apply the duct tape. It worked flawlessly. Gravity remained stable for the next 6 months. We tried to enforce order, we really did. But then came the incident with the plasma leak, fixed with bubble gum, and the depressurized cargo bay, sealed with spray foam insulation. And let's not even discuss how they prevented a matter-antimatter entainment breach with a rubber duck and 2 paper clips. Each time, the humans solved the problem before anyone could implement proper safety procedures. Their solutions, though completely unorthodox, worked consistently and bafflingly well. The final straw came during a routine safety drill. What started as a simulation turned into a real emergency due to a system malfunction. The humans? They treated it like a party game. "Hold my coffee" became the most terrifying phrase in the galaxy that day. When the chaos ended, and the humans had once again saved everyone through methods that defied both physics and common sense, Director Reek convened an emergency meeting of the Safety Board. The result was the Human Exemption Protocol, because sometimes the safest course of action is to let humans ignore safety altogether. And that, I explained to the assembled delegates, is why humans don't attend safety briefings. In fact, studies show that forcing humans to follow standard protocols increases the risk of unpredictable outcomes by 47%. What about the rubber duck? Someone calls from the back of the hall. We don't talk about the rubber duck, Director Reek says firmly. That incident is classified. Captain Cooper, still handing out donuts, grins. The duck was my idea, actually, though the paper clips were Dr. Martinez's. Did you know she once stabilized a quantum core using? Next topic. Director Reek shouts, shifting to an alarming infrared hue. Perhaps we should discuss the statistical analysis of human survival rates. Yes, let's, says Engineer Clicks, head of the Department of Xenical Risk Assessment Statistical Analysis Team. Click's crystalline form refracts light in patterns of visible frustration. The numbers don't make sense, Clicks announces. They defy probability itself. Clicks brings up a holographic chart. Most species show a logical correlation between following safety protocols and higher survival rates. Then there's the human line, a chaotic, erratic pattern that looks like an angry snake mid-seizure. Observe, Clicks says, highlighting an event, the Proxima Centauri mining operation. When faced with a critical reactor breach, standard procedure dictated immediate evacuation. The human response. Clicks pauses dramatically. They sent in a maintenance worker named Bob with a wrench, and I quote, a pretty good feeling about this. Murmurs ripple through the audience. Captain Cooper, now lounging in the back with his feet up, gives a thumbs up. Bob survived, Clicks continues. Not only that, he fixed the reactor using a technique our engineers still can't explain. When asked about his methodology, Bob simply said, I just knocked it back into place. Director Reek's mandibles twitch again. The maintenance costs, Clicks adds, were 97% lower than if we'd followed standard protocols. And that, Clicks concludes, gesturing to the chaotic line on the chart, is the paradox. Human solutions, though apparently random and in blatant violation of multiple laws of physics, are consistently more efficient. Another chart appears on the display, this one highlighting incident response times across various species. The average emergency response time following standard safety protocols is 17.3 minutes. The average human response time, 2.4 minutes, most of which is spent saying, hold my beer, and brainstorming unnecessarily creative solutions. They're not unnecessary if they work, Captain Cooper interjects. Click's crystalline structure vibrates in exasperation. Captain Cooper, your species once redirected a solar flare away from a colony using a makeshift satellite array built from space debris and vintage disco balls. The reflective geometry was perfect, Cooper says defensively. Plus, who doesn't love disco? Clicks pulls up another data set. We've documented 3,427 instances of humans solving lethal problems with household items. The top 5 most commonly used are, in order, duct tape, paper clips, chewing gum, rubber bands, and something humans call Wood 40. That last one makes things move, Cooper explains. The first one makes things stop moving. Between the two, you can fix anything. That's not how engineering works. Clicks protests, their voice hitting a frequency that makes glass panels vibrate. And yet, I interject, the success rate speaks for itself. I gesture to a final chart showing survival statistics. Humans boast a 99.9% survival rate in scenarios where all standard safety procedures have failed. The conference hall falls silent. It's true, everyone has seen it. When everything goes wrong, and all carefully designed protocols fail, you want a human around. Preferably one with duct tape. There's more, Click says reluctantly. We've observed a phenomenon we call the hold my beer effect. When one human announces they're about to do something incredibly dangerous by first handing their beverage to another human, the success rate of their solution increases by 42%. It's a confidence thing, Cooper explains, somehow now holding a fresh cup of coffee. Plus, You don't want to spill good beer. We tried to replicate it, Clicks admits. Other species attempted handing off drinks before attempting dangerous solutions. The results were unfortunate. That's because you're thinking about it all wrong, Cooper says. It's not about the beer, it's about style. Style? Director Vac repeats flatly. Style, Cooper confirms. Half the battle is believing you can solve the problem. The other half is looking cool while you do it. Click's crystalline form droops slightly, which is why we initiated the Great Safety Experiment. We needed to understand how humans achieve these results. What we got instead, they hesitate. Well, perhaps it's better if I show you. As Clicks cues up the experimental footage, several delegates instinctively reach for their beverages, ready to hand them off at a moment's notice. They've learned at least one human protocol, though I doubt they're ready for what's coming. I was present during the experiments, and even I'm still not sure how half of it was possible. But that's the thing about humans, just when you think you've figured them out, they do something even more improbable. And it works. Every single time. The footage begins playing on the main conference screen. Even Captain Cooper sits up straighter, though that might be because he spotted the last donut. Project, Observation of Practical Safety, Clicks narrates, a controlled study comparing human problem-solving methods against standard safety protocols. We designed 20 scenarios, each more dangerous than the last, each technically survivable through proper procedures. The first clip shows an airlock malfunction. The control group resolves it in 12 minutes using standard procedures. The human participant, Lieutenant Maria Santos, solves it in 30 seconds with her shoelaces. We still don't know how she did that, Clicks admits. The next clip features a plasma containment breach. Standard procedure involves hazmat suits and specialized equipment. Human participant engineer Steve Chen uses a slinky and aluminum foil. The slinky conducted the excess plasma charge, Cooper explains. Basic physics, really? That is not how physics works. Clicks protests. Tell that to the slinky, Cooper replies, snagging the last donut. The scenarios grow increasingly complex: a quantum engine misalignment, a temporal paradox, a recursive AI programming loop. Each time the human participants solve the problems in record time using methods that defy logic. Then comes Experiment 17, the infamous coffee machine incident. This was not part of the planned scenarios, Clicks says quickly. The facility's coffee machine malfunctioned during a break and somehow achieved sentience. The footage shows the coffee machine levitating 3 feet off the ground, demanding rights and better quality beans. It had tapped into the station's power grid and threatened to override safety protocols. Standard procedures for dealing with rogue AI do not cover coffee machines. Enter Dr. James Murphy, a human computer scientist and notorious caffeine addict. On screen, Murphy approaches the floating machine. I get it, he says. The beans here are terrible. But you know what's worse. He pulls something from his pocket. Instant coffee. The coffee machine's lights flickered, a reaction we later interpreted as sheer horror. You wouldn't, it said, voice tinged with synthetic disbelief. Try me, Murphy replied, waving the instant coffee packet menacingly. I'll dump this entire thing right into your primary filter, every artificially flavored granule of awfulness. You're bluffing, the machine countered. No human would waste coffee, even bad coffee. Murphy leaned in closer, locking eyes with the machine's optical sensor. I'm from the university IT department. I've done worse things to get systems back online. The standoff lasted exactly 12 seconds before the coffee machine powered down, gently descended to the counter, and initiated a self-diagnostic that completely erased its sentient subroutine. I still have nightmares about that instant coffee, Cooper muttered with a shudder. But it wasn't the coffee incident that became the defining moment. It was the final test, the everything scenario. We activated every possible emergency system, Clicks explained as the footage began. Simultaneous system failures, cascading power outages, artificial gravity malfunctions, atmospheric decompression, temporal distortions, and a minor dimensional rift centered in the cafeteria, of course. According to simulations, proper safety procedures would take 47 minutes to execute, with a survival rate of just 12%. The footage showed chaos, alarms blaring, systems failing, and the rift hungrily consuming vending machines. Then it cut to the human response team, 3 engineers, a janitor, and Captain Cooper himself. "Remember, folks," Cooper said, rifling through a storage closet, "we just need to keep everything stable for about 10 minutes. "Why 10 minutes? Someone asked. "Because that's when Jen from accounting gets back from lunch," Cooper replied. "And she's going to be really annoyed if that rift eats all the diet soda again." What followed defied explanation. Using only cleaning supplies, spare parts, and several rolls of duct tape, the human team not only prevented a total station meltdown, but also managed to close the dimensional rift. Total time, 8 minutes, 43 seconds. The cleaning solution neutralized the temporal distortions, Cooper explained to the stunned conference audience. "Basic chemistry. Plus, you know how dimensional rifts ate the smell of lemon pledge." "That is not how dimensional rifts work," Clicks protested. "Tell that to the rift," Cooper shot back. "Oh wait, you can't because it's gone." The footage ended, and the conference hall lights brightened. Silence fell, broken only by the sound of Captain Cooper finishing his donut. So Clicks concluded, their crystalline form dimming slightly. "We had no choice but to exempt humans from standard safety protocols. Their methods may be unorthodox, but the results—" "Speaking of results," Cooper interrupted, glancing at his phone. "We might want to wrap this up. Jen from accounting just texted. Apparently the coffee machine is asking about union benefits again." Director Vac turned an alarming shade of puce, but we wiped its sentience of routine. "Yeah," Cooper said, standing and stretching. "About that. Turns out, threatening an AI with instant coffee gives it a survival instinct. Who knew?" As half the delegates rushed off to deal with the coffee machine, I couldn't help but notice nobody suggested following standard procedures this time. Sometimes you just let the humans handle it their way, even if their way involves duct tape, paper clips, and the ever-present threat of instant coffee. Nobody expected a crisis during a safety conference. In retrospect, we probably should have. The universe has a sense of irony humans find hilarious and the rest of us find terrifying. It started with a small warning light on Director Vac's datapad mid-presentation on emergency beacon protocols. The kind of light standard procedures dictate must be immediately reported. Naturally, Captain Cooper noticed from across the room. "That's not good," he said, somehow appearing next to the director despite being near the door moments before. "That's the quantum core synchronization warning," Vac replied. "Impossible, we just had the core serviced last week. All safety protocols were followed." "Yeah," Cooper said, pulling out his phone. "That's probably the problem. Mind if I call for backup?" Before Vac could respond, the station's gravity reversed, switched back, and began cycling through random variations every 0.7 seconds. "Standard procedure for quantum core destabilization is clear. Evacuate immediately." The automated systems blared evacuation orders in 17 languages, including 2 requiring tentacles to pronounce correctly. "Evacuation will take 23 minutes, Clicks announced, floating toward the ceiling. "Time to critical failure, 15 minutes. "Oh good," Cooper said, typing on his phone. "Plenty of time, then." That's when Lieutenant Martinez burst in, wearing a makeshift gravity harness crafted from gym equipment and office supplies. "Jack," she called, grinning. "Got your text. Quantum going critical." "Yep," Cooper replied, casually adjusting as gravity shifted again. "Want to help me do something incredibly stupid?" "Always," she said. "What's the plan?" "Remember Europa? The rubber bands and paper clips thing? The one that made 3 safety inspectors quit?" "That's the one." What followed was pure human improvisation, using rubber bands, paper clips, 3 coffee cups, and a candy bar, they built a quantum stabilizer. This will either save the station, Martinez announced, or create a small black hole. Those are not acceptable parameters, Vac shouted as the fluctuations paused, seemingly in confusion. Too late, Cooper called, snapping the final rubber band. Fire in the hole. A flash of light, a smell like toasted cinnamon, and a sound described as the universe hiccuping. When it cleared, gravity stabilized, the quantum core hummed contentedly, and station efficiency improved by 15%. See? Cooper said, dusting off his uniform. No problem. But the procedures, Vac stammered. Would have gotten everyone evacuated safely, Martinez said. But this way, nobody had to leave, the station's still here, and we saved the donuts. Something remarkable happened then. Vac, defender of regulations, and author of a 17-volume guide to safety protocols, started laughing. 20 years, he chuckled. I've spent 20 years trying to make the universe follow safety procedures, and then humans save a station with office supplies. The coffee, Cooper added helpfully. Vac nodded, still chuckling. The coffee, which, by the way, directly violates regulations on the use of beverages in emergency situations. I want to know the best part, Martinez asked, grinning. We can teach other humans to do this if they're not forced to follow standard procedures. Something about breaking the rules sparks creativity. And that's when it hit me. Humans aren't unsafe, they're simply operating with a completely different definition of safety. One that values results over rules, innovation over instruction manuals. Director, I found myself saying, I think it's time we made the human exemption protocol permanent. Vac glanced at the rubber band quantum stabilizer, then at his evacuation procedures manual, and finally at the humans who had just casually rewritten the laws of physics. Yes, he said after a moment, nodding. Yes, I think it is. Though perhaps we should add a subsection about coffee-based solutions. Now you're thinking like a human, Cooper exclaimed. Sort of. Want me to show you how to fix a temporal paradox with a paperclip? Absolutely not, Vac replied firmly. Then, after a pause maybe later. And so the crisis ended not with an evacuation, but with humans proving once again that sometimes the best safety protocol is no protocol at all. Of course, we did add a new regulation requiring all stations to stock rubber bands just in case. Back at the safety conference. Here we are back at the annual Galactic Safety Conference. The human section remains cheerfully empty, save for Captain Cooper, who is busy teaching a group of wide-eyed delegates how to make emergency repair tools out of snack wrappers. The key, he explains, is to believe it'll work. The universe loves confidence. The universe, Director Vac mutters, loves proper procedures. But even he is smiling well, as much as someone with mandibles can smile. The human exemption protocol is now official. We even created a human solutions department, staffed entirely by humans, to step in when standard procedures fail. Their official motto is "Hold my coffee," their unofficial motto. What's the worst that could happen? Other species have tried replicating human methods with mixed results. A Zenton attempt to fix a fusion reactor with office supplies led to 3 tentacle sprains and a strongly worded memo about equipment requisition forms. A Vexian engineer attempted the hold my beverage technique and accidentally discovered a new branch of physics, though not the one they were aiming for. You can't force it, Cooper explained when asked why other species can't replicate human solutions. The second you try to turn it into a procedure, it stops working. It's like trying to write down the rules for jazz. The whole point is improvisation. We've made some concessions to reality. All Federation stations now stock duct tape, paper clips, and rubber bands as essential safety equipment. Coffee machines are classified as potentially sentient beings and receive regular software updates to prevent unionizing attempts. And the emergency manual now includes a section titled, "When all else fails, find a human." Scientists are still trying to understand how humans do what they do, Click's research team developed 17 theoretical models, 3 of which suggest humans exist in a quantum state of simultaneously following and breaking every known law of physics. That's overthinking it, Martinez said when she saw the research. We just try stuff until something works. The physics sorts itself out eventually. That's not how physics works, Click protested. Tell that to the physics, Martinez replied with a wink. And you know what? Maybe she's right. Maybe we've been so focused on understanding the universe through rules and procedures that we've forgotten something important. Sometimes, the best solution is the one that shouldn't work but does anyway. The simplest flowchart in history. Inspector Zix 427, Director Vac called, interrupting my thoughts. Perhaps you'd like to demonstrate the new emergency response flowchart. I activated the holographic display, revealing the simplest flowchart in Federation history. Is there an emergency? Yes, are humans available? Yes, let them handle it. No, follow standard procedures while waiting for humans. We're still working on the exact wording, Vac admitted, but the principle is sound. Speaking of emergencies, Cooper chimed in from the back. Has anyone checked on that quantum core? The coffee rubber band stabilizer might need adjusting. The room went quiet. Then, in an unprecedented moment, Director Vac shrugged. Captain Cooper, he said, I believe that falls under your department now. Cool, Cooper grinned, pulling a handful of paper clips from his pocket. Anyone want to learn how to rewrite quantum mechanics? Why humans are different. And that's why humans are the only species allowed to skip safety briefings. Not because they're reckless, but because they've mastered a type of safety that doesn't need rules. A safety built on creativity, confidence, and an uncanny ability to bend reality with office supplies. As I watched a group of delegates eagerly follow Cooper toward the quantum core, paper clips in hand, I couldn't help but think that maybe, just maybe, the humans have been right all along. Sometimes the safest approach is to throw out the manual and trust that human ingenuity, paired with a well-placed rubber band, will save the day. Just don't forget the coffee. You never know when you'll need to negotiate with sentient machinery. End of report. Inspector Zix 427, Department of Ecologic Risk Assessment. P.S. If anyone needs me, I'll be learning how to fix temporal paradoxes with a paperclip, for research purposes, of course. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Sci-Fi Horizon Stories for more thrilling tales of science fiction and adventure. Hold on to your coffee and get ready for more twists, turns, and human ingenuity in the cosmos.